When we think of the yachts, cars, or mansions owned by billionaires, we're usually thinking about how much it would cost to rent them for a day, or maybe how much the monthly mortgage payment is. But in reality, those are peanuts compared to what these mega-rich individuals actually spend on some items. Today, we will look at 7 crazy expensive things that only billionaires can afford. Let's get into it. Number 7. The world's most expensive watch. Now this one is pretty self-explanatory. It's called the Grandmaster Chime, and it costs $33 million. No one outside of the brand itself knows exactly why this watch costs so much. It has all the standard functions, like telling the time, but it also has a bunch of other features. This is essentially a pocket watch that was made specifically for collectors. So although you may not wear it, you can proudly display it in your mansion. One thing that does explain the high price tag is the fact that only 2 were ever made. So if you want to buy one, you'd have to find someone who's willing to part ways with theirs. And even then, it would cost you a kidney and several months' worth of living expenses. No, 6. A day at Disneyland. Disney parks aren't cheap. If you've been to one in the past few years, you'll know that a single park ticket starts at around $100 per person. A lot of people do unrealize just how much money they are re-spending until they add up all the costs. You have the ticket, food, souvenirs, parking, and everything else that goes into a typical day. All of that adds up really quickly. For anyone with a family of 4, a day at Disneyland could easily cost $400 or more. So imagine having to pay that for every single person in your company. Number 5. 1 square foot of Manhattan. Real estate in New York City, particularly in Manhattan, is some of the most expensive in the world. In fact, just buying a 1-bedroom apartment in the area costs over $1 million. But that's nothing compared to the value of 1 square foot of land. On average, an acre of land in Manhattan costs $2,700,862. If you want to buy a full acre, you're going to have to pay over $2 billion for it. No, 4. The Mona Lisa. Art is weird because it can be priceless, but it can also be really cheap depending on where you buy it. There's something special about owning a piece of history, which is probably why Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa is the most expensive painting ever sold. It changed hands a few times before ending up with the Louvre Museum in France, where it still lives today. The French government refuses to put a price tag on the painting, but it's generally agreed that its value is between $250 million and $400 million. There's always been a lot of mystery surrounding this painting, which is probably why it's so valuable. Many people believe that she may have been a secret lover of Leonardo da Vinci. Of course, there's no proof of this, but it makes for an interesting story. Number 3. The first iPhone. Collectibles are a big deal, and anything related to Apple seems to be more valuable than similar items from other brands. That's probably why the first iPhone ever sold for $40,320. We are used to seeing Apple products being released on a yearly basis, and sometimes it feels like there are many differences between the newer models and the previous versions. But back in 2007, the first iPhone was a major game changer. It had no real competitors, and people lined up for blocks to get their hands on one. Of course, the original model was unperfect, and there is no way it would compete with the latest Pro Max. But given how much smartphones have evolved since then, it's hard to believe that this is what they originally looked like. Number 2. A private island. It might surprise you to learn that private islands exist, and it's not uncommon for billionaires to own one. They are usually extremely remote and are inhabited by a small number of people who maintain the property while it's not being used. Some of the smaller ones are for sale, but you're going to have to shell out tens of millions of dollars for one. For example, Blue Island in Fiji is currently listed for $20 million. But it's hard to say whether that's the actual value or just what the owner thinks they can get away with charging. The island is 107 acres and consists of 3 different islands. There are a few buildings on the property, including a house with 6 bedrooms. It might not sound like much, but it's enough room to host parties with up to 50 guests. But if that sounds ridiculous, then check out this next one. Johnny Depp recently purchased his own private island, and he bought it for a whopping $55 million. It's located in the Bahamas and consists of several different islands. There's plenty of space here because it spans almost 44 acres. He isn't the only celebrity with his own private island. Check out this list to see how many others fit the bill. No? 1. The world's most expensive car. This one is easy. It's a 1963 Ferrari 250 GT. It sold for $48 million back in 2018, and the record hasn't been broken yet. Part of the reason this car was so expensive is because it was owned by Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who was the ruler of Abu Dhabi. He was already a billionaire before purchasing the vehicle, but he passed away in 2022, leaving his estate to be divided among his heirs. As part of the settlement, the car was auctioned off, along with a few other prized possessions. Given how much money was at stake, it's no surprise that this vehicle sold for such a high price. In fact, it was almost twice as expensive as the next most expensive car on the list. What do you think? Which of these billionaires owns the coolest item? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out our other content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.